Okay, welcome back, everybody. Our 2025 pre-race interviews in studio with the Western States champion from Flagstaff, Arizona, Abby Hall. Nice to see you here in Chamonix.
You too, Devo. How's it going?
Great, yeah. Fantastic. And we're just getting warmed up here, and I hope you have been relaxing and saving your energy for your second UTMB and your fifth race here in Chamonix. Maybe just remind your fans about your history with the race.
Yeah, so I've done CCC 3 times in 2019, 2021, and 2022. Then did my first UTMB last year in 24 and come back for more this year.
So back-to-back podiums at CCC. Talk about those two specifically and what they taught you as it relates to like how to perform here, because I'm sure you have similar intentions or goals for the full loop.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was on the podium back-to-back here in 2021 and 2022, second and third respectively. In 2022, when I was third, ran about an hour faster. So like I really attribute that whole period to like being a big time of growth for me as an athlete. And I was really CCC focused during that part of my career. That was my A goal around the clock for those couple of years that I was into it. And, I think it taught me a lot about how to run out here, how to run aggressively and take risks out here. I also feel like, it's a course that is like hard to nail as an American. And I, both of those years came out here early, did a lot of scouting, got to know the area and kind of like learned what specificity for here looks like, which is its whole own beast, because you're like out of your training environment, you're in a new place. So for me, I think during those years too, benefited a lot from like being here, like early with teammates, like trying to make it feel like a little piece of home, like having fun with friends out here and just like trying to make it my own.
Yeah. So stepping up to the big race again this year. Give us the raw story of what happened last year. It was the early phases of your big comeback from injury. Yeah. You were never in the mix, but you stuck it out in a way that, honestly, is worthy of immense respect. Share that with the audience, why you took that approach and like really like had the wherewithal to see it through when a lot of people didn't.
Yeah. So like for full context, at that point, I was about a year out from surgery. And like honestly quickly latched on to UTMB during my recovery period as kind of being like the goal to return to, mainly because I had like could defer my entry a year. So it was like the next big thing I could reasonably put on my calendar. And it was, like in hindsight is a big one to bite off like a year out from a major surgery. But I am also so glad that I finished that loop. I think it, pointed out like a lot of areas of weakness that like a lot of growth that still had to occur to like ultimately get where I wanted to get post-op. You never know like until you throw your hat in the ring, and like size yourself up against the world's best to like, get smacked down with some humble pie. And didn't throw in the towel, got it done. Finishing that loop was like, it was, I think in some ways sad for me because I was like, kind of felt like so close, but so far, like kind of like I can run again and back out here, but like, I'm not fully myself. I'm not fully in my body.
Especially I've been on the podium twice.
Exactly.
At CCC,
yeah. And like I had during that time kind of developed some like just basic stuff, but just like kind of overused stuff in the other leg. Yeah. Like nothing to write home about, but enough that like compiled.
You're just not primed.
Yeah. Not primed. Yeah. Like, so I think that like finishing that loop was incredibly meaningful, but like, it was still like, all right, we got more work to do. And I ultimately think like looking back, that period of like building for something so big, completing something so big did like lay a really good groundwork for me in terms of like training cycles. Because then like when it came to the following spring, when I was getting ready for Western States, I had like already done big weeks post-op and it wasn't like the first big build or big like 100 back. So it was like, I think, difficult, but I'm also glad I did it.
We were just chatting about the importance of paying dues and maybe the mysterious ways that comes back and makes itself evident later in our careers. Say more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like a long history of people in our sport who have like paid their dues out here. I feel like so many people can relate to a hard UTMB. I mean, it's like a bucket list thing to go have a hard UTMB. And I also think that there's so many, like people at the top of our sport that have had tough goes out here too, like Jim and Katie are two that come to mind that have like put in the work at, like paying their dues out here, and are like both people that come to mind when I think of like working their way towards success here. I think UTMB is a race that's just kind of built differently, and often takes a while to get right and to get to know. And so, I'm like excited to be like back out here, continuing that journey of building my relationship with this race.
Awesome. Abby Hall, dude, you won Western States 2 months ago. Has it hit you yet? And what I'd be really interested to hear about is sort of like the emotional experience and relationship with what you accomplished, and the extent to which it impacts your life. Because I imagine after a few weeks, when you're done with a lot of interviews, things quiet down and things come back to a baseline, it might bring up some weird feelings. Have you dealt with that? And in general, like, how are you feeling 2 months removed from what must have been the seminal moment of your life?
I mean, you nailed it. Like, it's been just that. It's been so overwhelming at times, but also like I have just been so happy. Like I feel, just like I already feel right now, like after June, like accomplished more than I could have dreamed of in the sport. Anything else beyond here is like bonus. But it's like, I think it's been kind of fun in some ways, because I think like so many athletes can relate to like this feeling of putting in the work year after year. I mean, I look back even to like this feeling in high school, like even younger, like being a kid starting sports, of just like dreaming of winning the big one, like whatever that means at the time. In high school, maybe it means like winning state. In college, maybe it means like making it to nationals or being All-American. And it's like, I had never like had what I deemed to be like my big one. And to finally have a race where I felt like I demonstrated like exactly what I believed I could do, and that there wasn't a gap between those things, was like just incredibly fulfilling. Yeah. And that's like, that's a shift to go from being like that, like, I don't know, like to always longing for that, to being like, I did that. And so like, how does that shift things for me now? And I think the shift for me has been like just finding like excitement in just like feeling kind of playful, and also like this like hunger for like doing it again, and like finding mastery across like multiple things. I feel, I felt like pretty content at the thought of like possibly calling it a season after that. Especially because I had like kind of the big ticket chase going into it. But honestly just felt like this excitement to kind of like get back in the ring and like do it again. And I also like wanted to not wait too long to get back into it. I didn't want to like feel or like trick myself into thinking like I had to like keep this illusion of like a perfect streak or something like that. Like, it's a hard sport. It's hard enough to do that once, let alone to do it again. But like, I genuinely do enjoy like the journey of like trying to put those dream days together so much that like, like I've been someone who's always hungry for those kind of days. So like that hunger also doesn't go anywhere, because it's also built kind of who I am and how I like to approach the sport. So I think in some ways it's also like the same journey that takes me forward.
Very, very cool. It does like have an impact. It leaves a mark, right? Yeah. So maybe take it in two pieces, the physical and the mental, right? Because you ran a very fast 100-mile race 8 weeks ago. we all know that stepping up to the start line at UTMB, you know, you're signing up for real pain, real competition, which takes like a real reservoir of strength upstairs too.
Yeah.
How are you feeling both physically and mentally going into what you know is going to be another, you know, very challenging day?
You know, physically, like things have gone super smoothly. My main like goal was to not get too greedy with it. And I think if anything that has felt a little like unconventional for me, like I'm used to going into big races with big blocks. And this has been like a pretty conservative, how many weeks has it been? 8, 9, something like that.
Something like that.
Or 7. Yeah. Like, and so I think I've been definitely having to like remind myself to trust the work that I was doing, you know, in May, June, July, took it pretty easy, like went out to the San Juans, was out there for Hard Rock and just like enjoyed some time in the van, doing some easy runs. And then like dipped my toe back into a few long runs, like at home at the end of July, and kind of used that a little bit as a litmus test of like, am I into this? Does this feel fun? And ultimately, like it's felt like things are clicking pretty well. I don't feel like I've had to, you know, force anything too much. Got out here early August with Cordis, and we did like kind of not a full loop, but like an arc, if you will, like a Saint-Gervais to Triant, like nice few days around the mountain. And like, it was really fun to come back here kind of with fresh eyes after last year where I was like, super stressed, not feeling myself in my body, but like kind of telling myself like, it's fine. This is fine. And it's been cool to come back and be like, oh, like with some fresh eyes and like fresh legs, mind, body, like the course feels more fun than I remember it. I felt last year so like bracing for impact the whole time. And this year it felt like just in training more like, yeah, like this is fun. And like there's sections where you can really find some flow, and like I've also felt like there's sections where like I'm drawing connections to some of my Western States training where it's like, yeah, there are some grindy climbs. There's some really runnable stuff. There's some, you know, like long descents. And so I also am like trying to remind myself, yeah, like there's definitely parts where it's that hyper specific, like Alps, steep, whatever. But there's also like, it's not a total 180 or anything. So trying to leverage that. And then to answer your question about mind has been like, I think the main thing for me has been like, I felt almost like before I could commit to UTMB, like that I was like supposed to like let go of Western States or something. And then I kind of just came to the conclusion that like, I don't really have to, and I don't really plan on like letting go of that feeling anytime soon. You should carry the cougar in your pack the whole loop. Yeah. And so like, I'm also like, went from being like, no, you need to like put that behind you, to being like, no, like carry that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something that we talked about in your finish line interview at Western States. You made a comment, something to the effect of, it may not be verbatim, but that you had this mantra of like, what's meant for you will come to you.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is sort of like related to the talk I just had with Rod. We're like going deep here in the interviews this week, but I know you to be somebody who, I don't know, you have this spirit to you. And I wondered if there was anything similar to that you're thinking about in moments of privacy or in your own head, something similar, or if this is kind of like the philosophy that you're just bringing to your season this year. Because to me, that felt like a powerful moment from Western States, you making that statement on the track.
Yeah.
Anything there that would be fun to talk about?
I mean, that moment really felt like holy for me, like in so many ways. And I think part of what was special about that was like that whole like ticket journey there, and like the twists and turns of that road, and feeling like what was meant to be would be. I think like the difference for me for UTMB, like I think where I'm at with it right now is feeling like I'm kind of here to like fight for the me last year that was like feeling very small. And like for me, that is like, that's a huge motivator. Yeah. Because for me, it is like all about my journey with me. And I think of the me last year that like worried, you know, is my competitive career at this coming to a turning point or a a different trajectory? Is it changing? Am I going to be able to be back to where I was? And so for me, UTMB specifically this year is about like fighting for that version of myself that didn't get to run the race I had hoped here last year.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's like a really like powerful thing, like that we all are like, I don't know. We all have such like deep relationships with different chapters of ourselves, especially in sport. And I think it's like a really cool way to channel past emotions that maybe feel like, I think it's easy to feel like embarrassed of a bad race here, like want to not talk about it, sweep it under the rug. It didn't happen. But I feel like a lot of pride into like leaning into those times. Like
you should be super proud.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's a deposit in the good karma bank.
Yeah. I like to think so.
And it reminds me of something else you said on the track, which was, I think Corinne asked you like anything you want to say to the people who are going through the hard moment right now, because like we watched as you traversed that that whatever valley of uncertainty and then boom, you win freaking Western States. So maybe final question then, you'd Black Canyon, Chianti, then bang, Western States, you win. Like, you've got nothing to lose this weekend. How does that impact the strategy at all, if you're willing to share? Like, because you could approach this in any number of different ways, right?
Yeah.
And one of those ways could be like, I've got nothing to lose. Let's take the biggest swing possible.
Absolutely. Like, I think winning one of these big races feels like, like such a huge opportunity. Like winning two of them is like the even crazier dream. I feel absolutely like I have nothing to lose. I feel like I just get to go out there and play, and anything else at this point is bonus. I think it's unique to do that at a race like UTMB that I don't consider to be, it's just like, it is such a brutal race. It's not maybe I'm just like, have like rough memories from last year, but I don't think of it as a race that's just like, wow, this is so fun the whole time. Like, and I think it's for me and like how I approach it, it would be unrealistic for me to go in assuming it's going to be like fun. I'm going in to like sign up for suffering. And like, yes, I enjoy that. Yeah. And I enjoy like the night, and I enjoy the leaving Courmayeur, if you will, which I think is like a big symbol in the sport, leaving Courmayeur.
Definitely is.
And like Cordis and I use that as like a metaphor for so many things in life.
Really?
Of like leaving Courmayeur.
We're leaving Courmayeur right now.
Exactly. And I
you're like, you got a big week coming up. He's like got work or whatever.
Exactly.
Oh, man, I'm leaving
Just gotta leave Courmayeur
right now. Yeah. We're kind of leaving Courmayeur right now, team, aren't we? Yeah.
Just got to get up on that balcon and like cruise, Like, so I like have come to really enjoy, I think, like not what like my idea of the race is, but like what it actually is. Yeah. And I feel like what I'm signing up for is not going to be like a flowy, fun experience, but it is like, getting back into a place of like pushing my limits, like, fighting to like be my best self out there, and like fighting to make it happen.
Abby, you're so fun to talk to about this stuff.
You.
Congratulations on what
you.
You've achieved so far this season. Good luck at UTMB.
Thank you.